did this morning. We're doing conflict tonight. We're talking about that again.
There's a lot of people dealing with conflict. I mean, I'm helping a lot of people right now. They're calling and saying, "Hey, how do we deal with this conflict, and how do we get past it?" And it's nice to say you're never going to get past it. There's always going to be conflict in your marriage, always.
Yeah.
But it's how do we navigate. We talked about it this morning. How do we navigate the conflict is how we resolve.
But we didn't know about. I think we always were trying to solve all of our conflicts,
so that we had no problem.
So we would have no conflict because we thought our marriage was going to be strong and good if we.
Well, I thought you could get to a place where you don't argue and you agree on everything, and I thought that's what marriage was about. And then Dr. Gottman is saying, no, there is no such thing as a marriage without conflict. There's conflict in every marriage.
It's inevitable. You're going to have conflict. And so depending on where you come from as far as your family or your family of origin, what that looked like with your parents, my parents didn't really argue in front of us, and so I didn't see a lot of conflict. I didn't like conflict. I'm a 3 on the Enneagram, and so I wanted success. I couldn't stand for things to fail. I wanted to see achievement. I wanted our marriage to work out. If we had conflict, I wanted to resolve it. I just didn't understand how you could have conflict and still be married. I thought if you had conflict or if you were having problems, then you immediately had a bad marriage and it was headed for divorce. I didn't know you could actually be in a solid, good marriage, have conflict, work through it, and even be stronger because of it. And then Richard,
nobody tells you that.
No.
So you just think, if we are not getting along, well, we need to get divorced. And that's not how it works. I truly believe that God puts people together that are different, that have issues, that have problems, and with His help, we are able to work through and get an understanding of why we are the way that we are. Well, and we're able to work through stuff.
Well, your family of origin was different than mine as far as how you guys handled y'all conflict was just part of it.
Right. I mean, conflict was a daily thing. So yelling, screaming,
getting mad at each other.
Right, being sarcastic. Oh my gosh, I thought sarcasm was the way to help people grow. I mean, I was the king of sarcasm, and my mom and my mom and dad were great at sarcasm. Oh, you're never gonna, you're always up, you're always, you never, you always, you never. All you do is study a little harder, and you would make a D in English. And I'm like, I hate English. It's a foreign language. But all these things happen to us, and so while we're young, we start to get a trait that how we deal, how we perceive things, how we start learning how to navigate things, how to start criticizing, how to be negative, how to get angry, and it starts to develop, and then through adolescence, through early adulthood, and then you get married. Well, now you've developed, you practice this stuff. It's what you know. So how can you expect it to not come out in marriage? This is what you know, right?
Well, and I think when the first few years of our marriage especially, I think Richard, he didn't have a problem with conflict. He knew how much it bothered me, so he loved to push my buttons. And I think he would push my buttons on purpose, so it gave him excuses to drink, go off and do things that he
not talk to her.
Yeah, I mean, it was just carte blanche. If anytime there was, he would start stuff with me, and I would think, how is this always happening? He's always picking on.
And then a couple days would go by, and man, I didn't have to say anything or talk to her or do anything. But I thought, oh, this is great. But you know what? We weren't accomplishing anything. All we were doing was prolonging the inevitable, which was a bad marriage and discontent and chaos. And
I was opposite than him. I could not let things rest. I wanted to solve something, fix it, move on to the next thing because I like to achieve things. So if it meant staying up all night to fight, we always have a joke, the Bible says, don't let the sun go down in your wrath. And I was like, that's right, stay up and fight. So it really literally would be 4 o'clock in the morning and we would be arguing, getting nowhere, making it worse and worse and worse.
And no matter how much I was telling her, this isn't helping, she's like, oh, we're not, are you asleep? Don't you fall asleep on me.
Because I thought that we had to fix it. I just really thought we were going to be headed for whatever if we didn't fix it. I didn't know. I just thought we had this failed marriage, and a 3 cannot stand for things to fail. So we like to make things successful and fix them. So, but conflict is normal. It is a part of marriage. It is a part of life. not only is it inevitable, it's just it's normal and you're supposed to do it. But if your parents didn't tell you that, or they didn't even know, maybe it's like we said earlier today, it was like, why do the vows say for better or worse, for sickness and in health, for richer or poorer? Because someone very because someone very
that
wise,
wasn't in there. I just thought I'd add that in. Give you something to look forward to.
but someone very wise said those vows because they knew that that's what marriage. Those vows, you don't even understand it when you're all standing at the altar and you're in love and you're not thinking about better or worse. Oh yeah, boo, I'll take care of you. But you don't realize that those are the things that you're going to have to go through. Those the better are for worse, and sickness and in health, and corona versus non-corona.
I was talking to a friend of mine today, and I was telling him about the couples who come to the class, and the couples who seek wise counsel, and the couples who read the books, and the couples who are doing it, and are they in a perfect place? Do they have perfect marriages? No. But man, they love each other. They're stronger together than they are when they were divided because there was discord in their marriage. And now we see them, some of them are losing jobs. Some of them have been sick. Some of them got hurt actually hurt where they need surgery. Different things are happening right now as we speak, but because of where they are and what they've learned, they're navigating through this, and they know that they're going to get through it. And it's frustrating, of course. It weighs on you, right? But they know that they're not doomed for divorce.
But because they've learned some stuff over time, they've been putting this skin in the game these last few years. They've got some equity. They've got some marriage equity.
Now, I'm also dealing with couples that have been married for 12, 13, 14 years that are calling us that have never gone to class, that have never done anything.
Never read a marriage book, never went to counseling.
And oh my gosh, it's almost like they're not hearing almost anything that we're saying. They're so angry with each other that all they do is Adam and Eve it. And the Adam and Eve is, all they're doing is pointing fingers. Well, it's because she did it. Well, I did that because you were such and such and such. Well, the reason I was that is because, and it just goes on and on and on. And it's just never ending.
And Joel Malm, one of our very good friends, a guy that we just wrote a book with, he always says that the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time to plant a tree is today. So if you didn't start 20 years ago or 5 years ago, going to marriage classes, watching videos about marriage, learning about becoming an expert in marriage, learning how to deal with conflict and how to do your finances, how to figure out how to navigate through a quarantine, then that's okay. You can start today. And it's better that you start now because who knows what's coming down the road. So we've got to put this time and this effort into it. We put it into so many other things, but we have got to invest in our marriage. It's it's going to have the best payback of everything. It's going to have the best dividend of anything that we invest in. So I thought, when I was first with Richard, I thought I could not be happy unless there was no conflict in our marriage. And
she was not happy for a very long time.
And we learned without conflict there is no growth. And we always say that we did a lot of growing, But I saw it as a sign that we were failed, that we were doomed. And I was wrong. I was totally wrong because I did not understand that you could have conflict, like we just said earlier, and you could develop conflict skills and actually navigate through it and actually be better for it.
Because it goes from a toxic communication to a healthy communication, right? We're able to be able to resolve conflict the correct way. And there is a correct way to do it.
And there's a wrong way to do it, which was what we did. And we didn't even know we were doing it. We didn't even know it was a thing until we started teaching pre-marriage class. We started learning about the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. Can't talk. The 4 horsemen. And if you look it up, we teach it in our Saving Your Marriage Before It Starts class. If you look on the Gottman Institute, you can see the 4 horsemen. And it is contempt, defensiveness, stonewalling, and criticism. And it's not in any particular order, but when those things start to happen in marriage, this is what we see almost every time. When we start to see these things happening, if you don't catch it and you don't work through them, it's a recipe for divorce almost every single time, because we need to be able to we said this earlier today, be able to not criticize our spouse, but we should be able to complain without criticizing their character. We can't get defensive every time somebody speaks the truth in love to us, and we were both majorly defensive, and I could not stand if he pointed stuff out, because I was like, oh, you want to talk about
as
what's
a
wrong
husband,
with me?
it was my job to tell her everything that she was doing wrong.
and
I thought I was being a good husband.
Yeah.
I was helping her grow.
And I thought I wouldn't go to a dentist with no teeth. How are you going to tell me what to do? Look what you're doing.
Wait a minute. I'm like, I got the plank in my eye. I'm like, what you need to do is, you know.
That's so funny because we went today, because, church hasn't been good. I don't know when you watch this, but officially today in June, most churches aren't going to church yet. Our church is not back in, but we went and visited a church, and he talked about that today, about taking advice from someone who, they got that big plank in their eye, and they're trying to tell you, they're broke, toe up from the floor, broke. They don't even have two O's in their pour. They're so po. And they're trying to tell you about your finances.
Yeah. They've been divorced 9 times, and they're telling you
some marriage advice. Wait a minute. That's
your story.
Hey, wait, no, only 2 times other than this.
Hey, and we're going to Get Wrapped again out in Tomball.
Yes,
so, man,
we are.
Sunday at 11.
So Richard's very all over the place. But yeah, so Richard and I have, if y'all don't know, if this is the first time you're watching it going, who's this weird couple? Like, we both been married before, but we didn't know any of this stuff. We didn't learn any of this stuff. And we would have kept on probably having marriage after marriage, because we just didn't know. And we thought we just needed to get a new person, a new, we had just married the wrong person. We didn't understand that some of these things. We didn't understand about the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. Oh, I can't say that word.
Very good.
So we have to be very, very careful of the criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling. And if those things are happening, it's definitely some red flags that you need to either start talking about that, communicating about it. You need to start reading about it. Maybe you need to get counseling about it. We do marriage coaching. We do online marriage coaching, whatever you need, but something that help you to get through that part. It's a myth that you'll automatically be happy if you don't have any conflict. That's just, I guess, what they say in the movies. But newsflash, we're probably always going to have conflict. We're probably never going to even work through some of the things that we have conflict about. Like, we could be married 60 years. We met people, we've known people, 50 and 60 years married, still arguing about some of the same stuff. But still so hurt from it. And if you have those 4 things that we just talked about, it can be terrible. But you can also have conflict in a healthy way and maybe never resolve it, but you're at least navigating through it. Thankfully, the key to happiness is not to resolve all your conflict. I'm just happy about that when I read that.
Less stress.
Yes, less stress. And so we're going to give you also... So it also doesn't matter who you marry, because it's very easy to be married and hear those tricks and lies that come into your head and about...
I wouldn't be going through X if I would have married Sally.
Yeah, or
right?
Bob.
Or Bob. But guess what? You're right. You probably wouldn't. You'd be going through W and Z, right? Because they would have
their own set.
They got their own set of issues.
And no matter who you're with, even if you think you've married the wrong person, no matter who you're with, you're gonna have conflict. They're gonna have issues. We're gonna have to work through them. And most of the time, I know for me, I needed to take a long look at myself, because I thought, what if Richard, by the time I had my 3rd husband, I was like, what if he never changes?
3rd? What?
But God just spoke to me one time in my heart. Like, it was just like, what if he never changes? What are you going to do? Are you just going to keep on, being the star of all these weddings? Like, at what point do you press in, get some grit, and figure out how to get through this? And so I think that's a big thing, is to be able to do that. So 6 things that we can have conflict and have healthy conflict. 1 is to practice self-soothing. And we said earlier, that does not mean
more tequila. I just need more wine.
No, it does not mean self-medicating, okay? So,
there's one more of these little happy pills, and you can talk to me any way you want.
That means if you're having conflict, sometimes we need to have a little break, a little self-soothing. We might need to take a walk. We might need to read a book. We might need to pray. We might need to go take a bath. It's okay to take a break and come back to it later. Something that we had known some of this stuff
Right.
Yeah, or self-gratification. Exactly.
I
Misty.
told
So-
Sherry, I go, yeah, you need to go
That's
read a book, and she's all like, how to murder your husband and get away with it. I'm like, that's not the kind of book you need to read.
With no trace, yeah. So no self-medicate, no self-gratification. Just because you're wanting to just go in and you're hurting and you just want to take care of it. Sometimes we just need to separate from it. I know for us, had we separated ourselves from it, and not like I'm going and driving off, and we would try that. We did that, driving off, and I'm going to leave. I mean, just kind of like let's agree to disagree for a little bit, and let's let things cool down. Let's think things through a little bit. We talked earlier this morning about with our marriage classes that we teach with our kids. We'll say, that we'll wait till a teachable moment. Like maybe right there when you're having a conflict with your child, you might say, well, I need to come back to them when it's a teachable moment. But you can't say that to your spouse. You know what? It's a teachable moment. Like you're not their parent. But you can say, you know what? I need to come back when it's a receivable moment, when their heart's able to receive it, when my heart's able to receive it, right?
Mhm.
Sorry, I just want to break that whatever, because that earlier I thought that was like an aha thing I said about the receivable moment.
No,
So it's just okay to take a break. It's okay to come back. Sometimes it's okay to go to sleep, as long as you can just say, Lord, I'm not going to have anger in my heart, and I'm just going to let it be. And tomorrow, because most of the time, even if, and it doesn't mean that you sweep things under the rug and you don't deal with them, because that's another thing. We meet couples who, or we talk to couples who, they don't want to have conflict, so they don't talk about it, but then they never revisit it and bring it up at a good time when it is a receivable moment. They just pretend like it's not there, which we did that a lot. And the more you sweep it under the rug, eventually you're going to trip over it because you've got to deal with the stuff. So you have to maybe even make an appointment to say, we're going to deal with this tomorrow afternoon, we get home from work, whatever, but you can't just sweep it under the rug, but it's okay to put it off for a little bit. 2 is a softened startup. What does that mean?
You give some warm bread.
No, what does it mean? We always talk about this, like
However you
how
start
you
the conversation is usually how it ends. So you start nice and calm and easy and smooth, and even if it gets heated, it should end nice and calm and easy and smooth. We were talking with Joel and Mom. We were visiting at his house, and it was about anger, and he said anger is a very good tool. He goes, man, anytime you get angry, you should do a self-evaluation of why are you angry? Why is this making you angry? And this was just told us a few months ago when we were writing the book. We were just talking, and he was talking about anger and how we could use it and how God intended it. That's what's supposed to happen. Now, I'm sure that there are offenses that have happened that somebody comes and it's an attack on your character or attack on your family, and that's a different type of anger, right? This anger he was talking about is when your spouse says something or does something, and it's not they've gone off and had an affair, they drank too much, or they're using drugs. It's just something, that just makes you angry. It's an offense that makes you angry. You need to take ownership of it and be like, why does that make me angry? And then what happens is you start processing this through your mind, and you realize that your spouse has your best interest, and it helps you de-trigger the trigger.
It's like they have goodwill towards you, if you can think about that. I think couples that are married a long time know that about each other. Like, you know what? I know that you have goodwill toward me. And so even though we're going through this, I know you're not trying to destroy me, or take me down. So a softened startup is really good with conversations because they've just proven it that most conversations that start out, like you said, a certain way, whatever way it starts out, if it starts out with you being cray-cray and freaking out on somebody, it might get calm during it, but it's probably going to end up crazy. But if you start out with a soft, with being polite and kind and describing what's happening, and even though you're angry, I know for us, if we had known this for years, it would have helped us so much because we just came at each other. It didn't matter.
It just escalates. It just escalates.
Yeah. So that now when we can come at each other softly, and we might, like I said, escalate through it because we want to get our point across, but by the end of it, we're usually like truce, we're back to that soft. And so number 3 is to repair and de-escalate, which is to not, to avoid the crazy cycle. It's not to pour gasoline on it. You might try some scripted phrases like, I'm sorry, I don't feel like you're hearing what I'm saying. I don't feel like you're understanding what I'm trying to you're understanding me right now. They sound kind of fake, and I remember first hearing about some of these things and going, if he started saying that stuff to me, I'd be like, I call, whatever. But I
call bologna sandwich.
but I know now, after we've done it for a few years, when he does come talk to me that way and he tries to de-escalate something, then it does soften my heart. And it's like hard to argue with somebody that's not up in your grill. When someone's saying, look, I once.
Up in your grill still even relevant. I think that was like
someone comes at you
the
sideways.
1990s.
Someone comes at you sideways.
I know I didn't yes and you. I'm sorry.
I just think it's good though. Whenever I like it, whenever he tries to repair things, does things, and he's better at it than I am probably about doing that. But I appreciate that. And it's like when someone you try those repair attempts during the conversation, not like, oh, I don't know why you're acting so crazy. No, not like that. Yeah.
Just
hey,
get down and.
Because there are people that do that, that try to make you sound like you're. I don't know why you're acting like that. Yeah, I don't know. You're the one with the problem. So I'm not saying that, but if
that's so good because I used to do that to her.
Oh my gosh! And then I just like.
Are you okay? Like, have you gone to a psychiatrist to see if you're not just crazy all around? Yeah, that's
that'll work. Try that. So that number 3, repair and de-escalate. Number 4 is listen to your partner's underlying dreams and feelings. This is so crucial in all of these things. Like if you can get to hear where your spouse is coming from, what their heart is, where their I don't know, just their point of view, what makes them tick, like why are they that way? When you can listen to them and they feel like they're heard and you can communicate that in a good way, it changes everything.
Oh, that's good.
I mean, it really does. But sometimes when you're in the heat of the moment, it's hard to communicate what you're trying to say.
All right. Tell me your dream. What's your dream? Oh,
I don't know anymore. You ruined all my dreams. You're a dream killer.
You don't have the brains to put a dream like that together.
So maybe it's best that
sounds like we're just acting right now. We've never actually said that to one another.
We're pretty close. Yeah. If you could, maybe I was saying this earlier too, is that sometimes I get in the heat of things. I'm just like, oh, I wish I'd said that later. I'm like, I wish I'd said that. So it's to maybe think about what are those things that we want to communicate when we are angry, if we're thinking about them.
Write it down and keep record of it.
No, but you're thinking like, what are my dreams? If someone says, well, what is it that you want, Sherry? Like he would ask me, I don't know, and I just freak out on him. But whenever I could be calm and be like, you know what, let's talk about some of my goals and my dreams or whatever. Let's hear your goals and dreams. And I think when we can become a better listener and we can hear our spouse's heart, then we're able to receive more from them. We're able to receive influence from them, which means when they have an opinion, we're able to receive that opinion and go, you know what, there might be a different way to do it.
I had an opinion one time. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Remember when I had an opinion?
Maybe once.
I think it was
I'm
just
sure
once.
I squelched it.
It was just once, right?
Um,
But you know what? This is so true, and it's not like I don't have an opinion about that, do I, baby? No, you don't. I didn't think so.
Baby, what movie do you want to watch? I don't know, baby. Just tell me what do I
What's
want to
good
wear?
is she does. I mean, she shops. She gets my clothes for me, and when we go out to dinner, today we ordered French fries, and we usually get double broccoli.
5 months.
Right, and so she let me have French fries. I'm like, you know what? I want French fries, and I'm sorry. I started crying. And, I'm teasing.
So when you started begging, that's so embarrassing.
But, she orders the best stuff off the menu, and she takes care of us. So, man, I used to argue. It used to drive me nuts, and now she goes, oh, baby, whatever you want to order, and it's not like that again.
Whatever you want.
She always puts something together great, steak or shrimp or, a good salad or tuna. I mean, it's always good, but, it was just that thing like I'm giving up some control.
Being controlled.
I'm being controlled again. And it's not that at all. She's just looking out for our health, And when I start to look at it as, man, we're on the same team. We are on the same team. Why are we putting each other in the meat grinder?
Right. Like we're trying to get to the same thing.
Right. So why do we have
to
to grind each other up every day? Why can't we learn new tools? And she goes, we ought to go to counseling just to make, and I said, man, that's a great idea. Even though this is what we do.
Because
why not us? Everybody should. Yeah. Everybody should go and get counseling.
We love going
and,
to marriage retreats.
And
I
wish it was just called coaching or something instead of counseling. Because when you say counseling, it sounds like counseling. But you know what? It is coaching. You know what? There's no football players, pro football players out there on the field with no coaches, with no help on the sidelines, with the pros giving them advice on what to look for, how to do it, how to run plays. So why can't we have it? Why can't marriage have pros?
We need to stay in check. We need to keep ourselves in check. Even as marriage leaders, because we talk about that all the time. There's people at church that we feel sorry for. Some people that, like, we see pastors of different churches, like, it's hard for them to go and get marriage help because they're supposed to be the ones with all the answers and be the ones, but you know what? We need to take that stigma away and be like, you know what? If we're having trouble with our golf swing, then we need to go have it. Even if you're not having trouble with it, it's always good just to keep sharp and to keep on top of your game. So if we can listen to our partner's feelings and our dreams, then we'll be able to receive influence from them and also to compromise. That will lead us into compromise. Which number 5 is accepting influence. How well do you receive an opinion from your spouse? And I know when we were in our worst time, it didn't matter what Richard said because I thought you're crazy or you're an idiot or whatever I thought, because I was like, you're partying and drinking, you don't even have a rational thought. Like that's just honest. Like I couldn't receive any of what he had to say because I just didn't have respect at that point for him. And over time, I think especially because we're both very strong-willed person, if your personality is a strong-willed personality and you're like, look, I got this, I do things my way, I go straight ahead, it's very hard to hear it from somebody else. But when you get married, we have to be able to listen to each other. We have to be able to hear. Newsflash, our spouse has an opinion and their opinion matters, and sometimes it's better than our way.
If we're married and every day my wife picks up a hammer and she closes her eyes and she goes to drive a nail and she hits her hand, and every time she's just banging her hand with the hammer, yelling and screaming, all right, and I'm just watching it happen. As a husband, don't you think I would say, baby, maybe if you open your eyes, you wouldn't hit your hand, right? We need to be able to take constructive criticism from our spouse. It's the hardest thing, all right? I'm just going to tell you, constructive, what am I trying to say?
Complaining.
Well, like if I was telling you...
Or you're trying to help, like
right,
you're trying to build them up.
I'm trying to help, and it's not like picking out the negative, like, again, you didn't balance the checkbook, and you
picked up the wrong hammer.
Right, you picked it. It's not like that. It's not where we patronize each other, but from our heart we want to help one another. And I don't ever tell Sherry, you know what? Next time, if you did it like this, it'd probably be a little bit better. I say it in a way that she can receive it. I usually start out with, the other day when we were talking and the subject of blank came up, oh my gosh, that really, it just came at me sideways. Maybe in the future when we're talking about that, why don't we do it this way? Because I'd be able to receive it like that. What do you think? What was on your mind when you brought that up? And you do it in a way that disarms them. You don't bring it on in a way that, you know what I need to talk to you about? Come here.
Let me tell you.
Let me tell you, because now all of a sudden your defenses are going up, right?
I think a lot of times we'll say, how could we have done that better? How could we have done that differently? Because we don't always hit the mark, and sometimes we fly off the handle. But next time, going forward, how could we be different? And he'll say, well, the way that you say it like that, for some reason, just escalates me or whatever. I'm like, I don't like when you come that way because that makes me feel stupid. And so we have to be able to talk to each other like that. And
we're not supposed to use you statements. So
right.
we try. It's so hard to say how I feel, because it's the reason I feel like this is because you said it this way, but you don't want to do it like that. So how do you do it?
What are you saying?
Like if you say something to me that offends me, right?
I mean, we know. We say,
right.
I feel this way. Like I'm feeling, instead of saying you make me do this way, or you always, or you never, is that I'm feeling this way. Someone can't sit there and argue with you if you're saying this is how I feel.
Right.
Although Richard used to say,
that's stupid.
Stupid.
Why do you feel that way?
You should feel
that way. You should be happy and bubbly. Like I am, because I'm a 7 on the Enneagram.
So we need to show respect for their opinions and their ideas, because I know for Richard and I, when we're working in our, I said it earlier today, in our superpower, in our marriage superpower, when I'm receiving influence from him and he is listening to me and he respects my opinion, it makes me feel so great. And like, I'm like, yeah, I know, right? And then we're working together and like he's throwing his 2 cents in, I'm putting mine, and we're working, when we're bringing his strengths and my strengths together, wow, like it is it's so amazing how much better it is than when one of us is just trying to do it on our own and saying like, you know, talk to the hand, don't do it. But if you get number 4, which is listening to your partner's dreams and their feelings, then you'll be able to accept influence from them. Number 6, last one, is compromise. And I was very confused with this whole compromise thing. I'd hear different marriages say, oh, marriage is all about compromise. And then we hear there is, you have to have complete agreement. You know, we have a complete agreement about everything. And I thought, we are never going to be in complete agreement as far as having the same opinion about everything. Because there are certain things that I like to eat that he doesn't like to eat. There's certain things that he likes to do that I don't like to do. We'll never be like, okay, oh, you know what? I like fish now, Richard, just because we have to have complete agreement. I hate fish. I'm probably never going to eat fish. And unless it's a fish stick.
No, she is about complete agreement, because we came back, we were driving, and I was going to the store, and there was a billboard with all of these. Man, it was just vile and disgusting. And it was these guys, right? And they all had their 6-pack. Right. And they were like the thunder from down under, right? So I called her, I go, you wouldn't believe, I'm so disgusted right now.
It's like,
and
these guys don't
I
have
am
shirts
so
on,
offended.
they're all glistening, and
she
they
goes,
have bow ties.
She goes, well, baby, in the spirit of being, you know, on the same page, send
complete
me a
agreement.
And to be a complete agreement, send me a picture so that I can be offended with you. So thank you for
You're
that.
welcome. I wanted to be in complete agreement about that. I wanted to see it for myself, make sure.
No, so you were disgusted too.
That was pretty funny. It was really funny to us when we were talking about that. I don't know if anybody got that, but anyway, that was pretty funny to us. But what I've learned, what we've learned about the complete agreement is that you can completely agree to compromise in marriage. And you can have complete agreement if you completely agree to compromise, because there are just some things that we're just not we're gonna go toe to toe on, or we're just gonna be like, I just don't see it that way.
Also, compromise means that as an individual, I will win something, and it also means I will give up something, right? And so if we're compromising together, she's going to win something and she's giving up something.
It's never going to feel perfect.
So, but we're both doing that. You know, it's a give and take.
But we feel but the point of it is to feel respected and honored. I love that when we compromise and when I feel supported from Richard, because I guess women's number 1 need is security. So when I feel supported from Richard and valued from him, and I think when I feel understood, when he feels respected, like that's better than like, I've got to make your point my point, or you've got to understand. If we can agree to compromise but feel respect, honor, and supported in that situation, then it works. Yeah. So those are just 16. Like we said, without conflict, there is no growth. There's a lot more we can learn, but these are just a few things that I wish we had known. We're learning them, years into it, but it's helped us the last few years as we have learned to do them better. Not perfect, but it's going to be. And so with marriage, there's going to be conflict. Don't try to fix it all. Some things you're never going to be, you might never work through. And if there's a gridlock on certain subjects that you seem like you can never get past, like you just keep having this problem, usually it's because there's something that's not being heard in the other person's heart. There's some kind of resentment that's still they're holding, that they haven't been able to communicate, that you're holding on to. So a lot of information, but we love you guys, and we just wanted to get on here and talk about that, because we've been hearing a lot of people going through a lot of conflict in this last few months, but we know you guys can work through it.
We have faith in you.
Yes, we do. So we'll see you guys soon. Well, Tuesday night we're doing an Instagram live on, so if you guys follow us on Brighter Marriage on Instagram, we're going to be doing it with Lakewood Church Marriage every other Tuesday. We're going to be doing Talk About It Tuesdays. So we'll have different.
I still like Tacos Tuesday.
I know, you wanted it to be Taco Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Also, I just saw Amber get on here. It reminded me because they're so awesome, and they even wrote a review. We just had a book come out. I don't even have the book in front of me, but we just had a book come out. It's called Marriage Can Get Better. It's on Amazon. We came out like #1 in the humor short story because it's a short book. Lots of guys are loving this book because they can read it, and they're like, most of them don't like reading lots of marriage books, but it's really simple and it's not very long. It's kind of to the point. And we stayed in the top 10 all week with new releases, and so that's pretty exciting.
And I had a friend who read it. Him and his wife, they had a great day. He went out the next day and made a hole-in-one playing golf.
Yes, he sure did.
So I'm just saying, maybe this book will help your golf swing, all right?
Yes, yeah, really, Marriage Can Get Better. You can get it on Amazon. My little sister just hopped on here, and I was about to text her because I just saw that today's the 14th. It's her birthday.
Happy
Birthday, Shelly. I know a lot of people watch this on YouTube, and they're like, what are y'all talking about? But this is Facebook Live where we're doing it right now. So we'll see you guys soon, and peace out.
Bye, y'all.
Yeah, bye, y'all.